Welcome to RetroQuest, my retro video gaming podcast where I force my son to play old video games. I'm your host, the Joystick Cowboy, and my co-host, Sako,
Teenage Prodigy.
The Teenage Prodigy, yes, indeed. Anyhow, this is our podcast, and we do it every once in a while. So,
I feel like it's more than every once in a while at this point.
So how are you doing, Sako?
I'm all right. It's been about a week since we last recorded, so not too much has changed.
It's been about a week. Yep. And not too much has changed. Like it doesn't. So before we get into it, you got anything new you want to talk about?
Not in particular. Nothing to this audience. I would say go check out my Twitch. I'll be streaming this weekend.
Wait for your plugs till the end there, Cowboy.
Then
big shot. Whatever.
As always, be watching out for information on the movie. I guess that's what I talk about at the beginning.
I'm talking about news. All right. So you did nothing new this week? Nothing crazy?
I guess like I did a thing in school.
What'd you do in school?
This play for drama. It was like an assignment.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I guess if that's all you got, we can move on to me.
Yeah.
I did some things and some stuff this past week.
What'd you do, Dad?
Well, let me tell you about my journey. So my journey started off the beginning of last weekend. So I spent a few days doing some audio visual stuff. I have all my consoles down here in my office. And I wanted to play my video games wherever I want. So there was a point I had my PlayStation 5 up in the living room, as you know, down in my office, my bedroom, and I just want to always play my games wherever the hell I'm at. So I started a whole project where I bought a bunch of HDMI cables and splitters and switchers so that now I have my hacked PS4, my PlayStation 5, my Xbox Series, and my Switch all going into a 4-way splitter that, or not a splitter, it's a switch. So whatever system turns on, it switches to that HDMI input and then sends it to out the back. I have that going
multiple on.
Then it switches to the most recently that was turned on, but I also have a remote that I can switch through all the different channels of HDMI sources. Have that going out to a 2-way splitter, and one of those ends is going to the TV in my office, and the other one is going up into my bedroom, which is next to my office, and it's going there to another splitter, which sends one to my bedroom TV and sends the other one all the way up around through the air ducts to my living room TV. So I can essentially play any of my consoles on any of the 3 TVs that I'm at. That was that project, which took about 4 days. And then I
was with you when you got all the stuff for that.
Yeah, that was fun. And then my next project was I was building a computer, but that wasn't until just a few days ago during the weekend. Before that,
it was way quicker than I thought it would be, actually. I thought it would be like a whole process, but it took you like a couple hours. I was like, oh.
Well, yeah, I know what I'm doing as far as building a computer. But before that, knowing I was getting a computer, I have a few laptops. I have my main laptop, which is my gaming laptop, which for years has been my main computer in general, which is now going to be, I considered my main computer. I have a smaller, smaller notebook laptop that I kind of just take around the house wherever I'm at if I want to just jump on something. And then I had my bigger 2-in-1 tablet laptop that is kind of like my work laptop that I take to work. And I kind of was like, well, now I don't really have a need for a lot of these laptops because now I'm going to have at that point, my gaming PC. And then I really only wanted to have, because I was getting annoyed having all the different laptops and shit. I just was going to turn my gaming laptop into just my laptop, my main laptop. So I was cannibalizing some of my other computers. taking SSD cards out, or not SSD cards, but M.2 memory sticks, trying to move RAM around
my
for a few
God.
days in preparation for that. Which for whatever reason on the little notebook, the M.2 storage it had would not, because I have two M.2 inputs in my gaming laptop. It wouldn't read it on my other laptop, but it read it on that one. So what I did was I got my gaming laptop, which is like my main laptop, which if I'm going to do anything anywhere, I'm just going to use that one. I'm probably even take that to work with me. I got my 2-in-1. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. More of a media center laptop kind of thing. And then that other little notebook, I just fucking threw Arch Linux on it. Now I have a dedicated Linux laptop.
Everybody needs a dedicated Linux laptop.
All that
once you get into computers, that's like the important thing.
All that to say, I did a bunch of unnecessary nerdly stuff while in preparation to build my PC, which I built and now have spent days configuring. and all in that time
in
playing Gargoyle's Quest, which I didn't need to dedicate a whole lot of time to because it's fucking Gargoyle's Quest.
Yeah. Why don't we talk a bit about that?
Let's talk about Gargoyle's Quest. All right. So, do you want to start this off or do you want me to start this off?
I mean, I can start it off the same way I start off every other time that I start off. I can start off with my first impression because I don't have nearly as much information on it as you do.
All right. Well, let me spit some Gargoyle's Quest knowledge real quick, and then we'll get into your first.
Spit some Gargoyle bars.
I don't know about bars, but definitely some 411. Anyhow, so Gargoyle's Quest, known as Red Aramer Mekamura Gaiden, or Red Armor Demon World Village side story in Japan, is a platform side-scrolling adventure game with mild RPG elements from Capcom. It was released on May 2nd, 1990 in Japan, and then in America and Canada in July. What did I say?
May 2nd.
Yeah, May 2nd. What did I say?
Just repeating you.
Oh, well, don't do that, because then you make me question everything I've ever done in my life.
Oh my God.
The main character, Firebrand, or Red Aramer in Japan, made his debut in the arcade game series Ghost and Goblins. Gargoyle's Quest, followed by 2 sequels, an NES game, Gargoyle's Quest 2 in 1992, and Demon's Crest for the Super Nintendo in 94. Both of those good, crazy good games. So the story of Gargoyle's Quest is you are Firebrand, a gargoyle who is predestined to be the Red Blaze who saves the ghoul realm from the evil King Brager.
Imagine how much like pressure that is on your shoulders to be like, but I'm predestined to be this guy that has to do everything.
If you're already like a demon, though, you already got some weird shit going on in your whole spectrum anyway.
I guess so.
So let's talk about the gameplay. So the game consists of 2 types of areas: the overhead view, where Firebrand traverses the ghoul realm either on a world map or in towns, and individual side-scrolling battle levels, which feature a boss at the end. In between the actual levels, as Firebrand traverses the overhead map of the ghoul realm, he is susceptible to random encounters like a typical console RPG.
A Snake Eater playing in the background?
Yeah, that is Snake Eater playing. It's my ringtone. Shh, quiet. Yeah, I got thrown off by that. I lost my check. I was like, am I hearing Snake Eater? He was really quiet. So I was like, do I got something on one of these fucking monitors somewhere that I forgot about? Because, yeah. Anyway. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, the gameplay. So, Firebrand, the Red Armorer, can walk, jump, and cling to walls. He can fly for a little bit of time. You get a few items. You get a few different projectiles. you start off with the basic like diamond fire one, then you get like the boomerang, and then some other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the gameplay. It's very
Pretty
straightforward,
basic.
super straightforward. So what are your first impressions of this game?
So I picked it up, and the way you explained it. So yeah, the way you explained it when we last did our last episode, I was very skeptical going into it. I was like, this is every time he says we're playing a short game, it's like a 7-hour experience, and I'm like tired of it halfway through. And no, this was a really short game. It was fun though. I liked the the way it introduces the gameplay mechanics. Like you're not even in the main world. Like you literally this game, to me, this is the oldest game we've played that had the idea of a tutorial level. So this game, I invented tutorial levels to me so far. Tutorial worlds, there's you start out in this, you learn how to traverse on the overworld thing, the side-by-side scroller thing, and obviously it gets more and more complex the farther you get through, but I've always liked that idea of a tutorial world where it's this is where everything is easy. This is where you don't hate yourself. Everything gets harder once you leave here. And although it doesn't get too much harder, in this game specifically.
That tutorial world, it does help out a lot. And a good part about it is it even gives you that trick little vial that you have to really try and learn how to time your flying to grab it.
Yeah, it's very good at teaching.
Yeah, I really appreciate that shit. I really do.
Well, I guess this game is hard to have a first impression for, though, because it's so short. By the time you've got your first impression, the game's over.
Yeah, how many? I can't even remember how many levels there are.
6, I think.
Yeah, something along that line.
So I feel 6 is over. I feel 6 is too much, actually. It's a really short game. I beat this in 2 hours.
Yes, it is. It is extremely short. It's fun. What did you think about the gameplay? Did you like the kind of RPG, how it kind of mixed a little bit of, light RPG elements, the little bit of storytelling kind of narrative. It actually had a story that you could follow for being mostly just a side-scrolling action game.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I like that a lot. It was I would consider this a bit of a platformer myself. The way it plays feels kind of like a platformer, not like a crate. It does feel more like a side-scrolling action game, but it feels like it has platforming elements.
I guess I would say, side-scrolling action platformer would be a better representation of what it really is.
Yeah, but I liked it. You start out really weak, as most games, right? You got your starter gear, and you need to do these quests, almost like side quest. I guess in theory you could probably beat this game. It's probably possible to beat this game without most of the other stuff. It's probably incredibly difficult. So in my eyes, these are technically side quests because why not?
Well, I don't think anything's really a side quest because everything you get, you need to progress.
Yeah, but I mean, as I said, there's probably ways to beat it without it.
With maybe a game genie code, trust me, as a kid, I tried to break this game every way possible. Every upgraded wing thing you get, or jumping thing you get, or attack that helps you get to, it's very gated by what you need. You're not going to sequence break anything. It's you go here, get this thing, even the random thing that you have to find under that tree, you can't get to the castle without it.
Okay, then never mind. But yeah, you go on these quests. You're literally a messenger boy for the first half of the game. You bring these just random things to these other guys, and they give you other things to go bring to other guys, to where you finally get hints of where everything you need is. And it's come on, just give me what I need.
Well, that's where it kind of comes in. The RPG elements come in.
Yeah. For the game it is, man, it was so annoying every time I had to go and do this, just go bring this random thing to this random guy for him to just tell me to go bring another thing to another random guy for him to for the next guy to finally give me what I needed. It's like, oh my God.
That's kind of the gameplay loop in this game is you go to the guy who's in charge, the king guy, whatever. He tells you what he lost. You go get it for him, give it to him. He gives you the thing you need to progress. And then when you get to the next guy, you show him that thing that you needed to progress. And then he was like, oh, you have that from the last guy? Well, let me tell you about what I need. I'm going to need this. And then you get to the one guy who like is testing you before you get to fight the last guy.
Oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'll give you what you need if you can beat me in a fight. It's like, dude.
And then he just ends up being like a slightly less harder version of the last boss.
Yeah.
He's just a guy sitting in a throne that you fight. I'm kind of
glad it's there because it's like you learn how to do like the boss fight before you even go into it.
Yeah. I mean, but it's way easier than the actual boss fight.
Yeah, by mountains.
The actual boss fight's that shit sucks.
I guess I stood on the same platform from the entire boss fight and it like was really easy.
Oh, really? Is there like a cheese strategy where you can just stand there and get him and fucking kind of like Link's Adventure or Zelda 2 where you can just stand in the corner and fight Dark Link and just like stab and you just kill him? It's like the automatic win shot.
It's kind of like that, but a little different because he can still hit you there. Like, it's not like he can't hit you. It's just like when he shoots at you, you just jump over it.
So he can hit you. He just tends to not hit you as much.
Yeah, because he'll it's the platform that's direct, like center of the screen platform on the left side next to him. So on his right, it's like you can just stand on that one. And
you know what? I think I remember using that strat as a kid.
Yeah,
that was the more easier strat right there.
Yeah, because you can just like jump every time. Like what I did, I used the rewind a lot. Every time you put his arm up, you don't have enough time to jump and like shoot the thing. So I would just like rewind to a few seconds before he put his arm up, and then I would jump and like pre-shoot so that he'd put his arm down at the right time for me to hit him.
I guess that works.
But like, I mean, even then, if you like, it would be the same thing if you didn't have it. It would just take longer. Yeah. Which is the only reason I was willing to really do that. Because for the most, especially for a boss fight, I wouldn't be willing to use rewinds. But because using rewinds didn't change like the way I was playing or anything, I was like, okay, yeah, it's just making the boss fight go by quicker, but not like helping me crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, because yeah, like whenever I get to a boss fight in a game that we're playing, I'll generally try to beat it without cheesing it at all. But because, you know, like I need to get the full experience. And a boss fight's like the well-known biggest part of a game. So it's like, I won't ever cheese a boss fight if it's not like going to change it at all.
Yeah.
I think I worded that right. Maybe I didn't.
I thought it sounded decent. You sounded a little bit like you knew what you were talking about. Not a whole bunch, but a little bit. You know, that's good. That works.
Well, what works.
All right. So let me tell you about my first impressions of this game, my backstory, my lore, as it were, of Dragon Quest.
No.
Not Dragon Gargoyle's Quest. My bad. Did I say? I probably said Dragon's Quest before too. Anyway, Gargoyle's Quest. So, when I first got my Game Boy, Christmas of it's probably like 92, I want to say 92 or 93, maybe even sooner than that. Anyhow, it was I was at least in third grade. So I think it was actually the summer before third grade. So whatever year that would be, whenever you're in third grade.
Yeah.
I got my Game Boy and I got Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, and of course Tetris. Those are the games I had for my Game Boy. That Christmas shortly after, I got Gargoyle's Quest. Now, I didn't own a whole lot of games. So that was the game I played a lot because by that time I had played the fuck out of Metroid 2, which is another great game. And this game, when I got it, I was disappointed because I asked for something else and it was probably something stupid. Got this game and I was like, oh, I don't even know what this is. What is this? Started playing it. fucking loved this game. I was like, this is such an amazing game. The mechanics, I fucking fell in love with the flying mechanics, the changing your weapon shit, the having random encounters. Because at that time I was still like just getting my eyes open to JRPGs or just RPGs in general. And that was
Yeah.
like, oh man, random encounters. Oh, you got an overworld. See, at that time, what I judged a game by heavily was an overworld map. It could be a trash fucking game that had an overworld map. If it had a good overworld map, oh, that's what won me. Because in my mind, I was the beginning to blossom my love for JRPGs. And an overworld map back in the 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit days, even an overworld map was kind of like the staple of that's what in my mind made something an RPG. I didn't think of JRPGs at that time. Everything in my mind that was an RPG was just an RPG. So in my mind, an overworld map made a game an RPG. So in my mind, I was like, oh, it's an RPG with action kind of shit. That's how in my mind I kind of put it together at, 8, 9, 10 years old. And so I just thought it was the shit. And I'll tell you what, this is probably the very first Game Boy game I ever beat. Maybe close to one of the first games I ever beat. I probably beat this game before I actually legitimately beat the first Super Mario Brothers game.
Oh, wow. So when did you beat Tetris?
Last year.
Or did some kid beat that to you? Did some kid beat you to that?
No, I beat it. I beat it last year.
Oh, you could have had the Guinness World Record too if you would have just recorded.
I didn't beat it in 2 fucking hours. That kid with the world record beat Tetris. He hit the fucking end game screen in like 2 hours. That's why he was all over the news and shit.
I still can't believe that news lady told him to go outside and touch grass.
Go touch grass. I'd be like, bitch, you go touch grass. I just set a world record. What the fuck have you done with your life?
Yeah, that still makes me so mad. Anyways, that's just off tangent.
Off that fucking tangent. Anyhow. Shit, what was I saying? Yes, this game, awesome. Love it. First time I ever really put like strategy in a game I was playing. You know what I mean? Like I actually like, oh, if I go do this way, it's easier. If I go do this that way, that's easier.
So you're telling me this game was your Uncharted for me? Is what you're telling me? This game was your
Uncharted for you, is what I'm telling you, apparently.
Wow.
Apparently, I'm telling you, this is my Uncharted.
This is my Uncharted.
This is your Uncharted.
Yeah,
sure.
That's the right way to word that, I think.
We'll go with that. It's your Uncharted. Sure. All right.
Well, no, because it was the first game that I ever put thought into how I played.
Well, this isn't that game because that game is actually going to probably be the next game we play, which I'll save for the end. I've been thinking about all day, and I kind of thought that the game I'm thinking of is the game where it was the first game. This is the first Game Boy game, not the first game period, and that's the game we're playing next. I'll save that for the end, which is the first game for the NES that I really put strategy in. I spent time learning. It wasn't Mario. Anyhow, so that was my first impressions. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual game itself that we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the characters. So first you got Firebrand, the Gargoyle, who you play him in this game in Ghosts and Goblins. He is one of your very first adversaries, probably what I would consider one of the hardest regular fucking enemies in damn near any game, I would say, because those you've played Ghosts and Goblins. I think I asked you that already. Yeah. That fucking goddamn red demon, he hits you in the very first level, like within one of the first screens, and he just comes at you, and then they throw him to you all over that fucking game, and he's just a fucking bitch to fucking fight. And in this game you play as him, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Okay, and then you got what he becomes the Red Blaze, which is the savior of the ghoul realm. Can I bring up something? So this game is
Sure.
sort of a side quest to Ghosts and Goblins. The main enemy in Ghosts and Goblins is the fucking zombies that come out of the ground, and Firebrand. And you come this game, you're in the ghoul realm. Not really sure how you're there, why you're there, honestly. Because you're not a ghoul. You're not a ghoul.
Oh,
You're
wait,
a fucking. You're a demon. You're like a gargoyle.
Oh yeah, you're a gargoyle.
I mean, you're not even. That's another thing too. Is like the game's called
But you're not the
Gargoyle's
only
Quest,
gargoyle there.
but you're like a demon, and you're in the ghoul realm. But most people in charge aren't ghouls. They're like demons.
Video game logic.
Yeah. And then you got after that you got Russian Fell, who thinks he's the guy that thinks he's the Red Blaze until you beat his ass. You you got King Darko, the king of the ghoul realm. He's the one that ruled until King Brager, because King Brager is the guy at the very end of the game that you fight.
Okay.
And then you got Baron Jark, and he's like the first guy that you help out. And then you get Majorita. He's the guy in the cave of darkness that tells you your like prophecy. You got Baron Byman. He's the one that gives you the candle of darkness. And then there's those don't you do, I guess I'm wrong, because throughout the game and in all the cities you do see like those little gargoyle people that you talk to.
Yeah.
So maybe the ghoul realm is gargoyles and zombies and other random shit, I guess. And then you got the little ghoul guy that you beat him in like a simple fucking like the same kind of battle you'd have as a random encounter. You beat him and he gives you that armor.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. I mean that's all the people in the game besides the enemies.
It's very not full of crazy amounts of guys. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
I think the pacing of the game is great too. Like you said, you start off in that top down perspective. You talk to the ghoul guy. He gives you a little bit of a breakdown of what's going on, and then it's straight into like a tutorial, like a prologue level. You know, you go through, it teaches you the basics. You fight a boss, and then you come out in the ghoul realm. In which case, you kind of just explore for a little bit. You learn that there's random encounters which don't help you in any way because you can't really gain levels. You don't really farm. I mean, you guess you get those vials from them, which you can farm for. The what do you buy with them? Those talismans of the cyclone, which are basically extra lives.
That's what those were. I had no clue.
Yeah, I never died. So it's like that doesn't really matter.
I was like, what is this? Because it kept saying, do you want to trade in 27 vials for one talisman of the cyclone? Like that sounds like a waste of money. I can just go back a few towns and like get one for like 8 of them.
Yeah, that's those are just extra lives. So, I mean, that's basically all that the random encounters can do is you can farm them for vials, which is what the money is in this game, and sell them for the extra life thing. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So
talisman of the cyclones or whatever.
Yeah. So you start off, you go through the random encounters, and it seems like every kind of trail you go through, or at least every other one, it splits a little bit, and you have like the chance to go a short way or a long way, which I never saw that a benefit from going the long way as opposed to the short way, because there's no experience. You're not really grinding for anything, and there's no extra shit that you find really. So it's always it's always blocked off by a zombie guy or a ghoul. You can go one way if you talk to the one ghoul. You can go the other way if you talk to the other ghoul, and then you go to the first town, which you start talking to the people. You get your first password place, your first merchant guy, and then you talk to the Baron guy, and he looks like fucking Satan from Ghosts and Goblins.
He just looks like
And-
what I imagine Satan to look like in general. I'm gonna be honest.
He looks like the actual sprite Satan from Ghosts and Goblins, and he asks you to obtain his gremlin stick. So you do that. You go across the bridge. You go through the little overworld area, if it so can be called, which is like very small. But the whole game is kind of smaller scale, so whatever. I'm talking up my ass. Then you go to that first level, and that kind of shows you what the game is these towers, these like dungeon levels. So you go to that first dungeon level, you fight the eyeballs, a little bit of platforming. And there is actually quite a decent amount of platforming in which you have to stick to walls, jump off, and stick to another wall. It's kind of like horizontal platforming as opposed to vertical platforming, because a lot of it isn't so much jumping from platform to platform. It's jumping from wall to wall. And I think that's what most of the platforming I would consider in this game is jumping from wall to wall and flying between walls. There are those parts where you are jumping onto things from other things, but it's mostly jumping from wall to wall and flying from wall to wall. So you go up that first tower, fight the Four Eyes, bring the gremlins, take back to the guy. He gives you those wings, right? He gives you like the wings.
Yeah.
And then you get those wings so you can cross that first major bridge. He gives you the candle. Like you get wings and a candle, right?
Yeah.
You get the wings from beating the fucking dungeon or whatever, and then you get the candle from the guy. Take that up to that cave, and then that gets you into like the bigger area of the game. And then you go talk to the guy in that town about seeing that person in the cave. And then you go, and that's basically it. You just go from town to town to town, about 6 towns. You go see the guy in the cave, then you go to that tower, which you have to kind of, there's that tower that's in the middle of that like desert where you have to, the wind blows you out of the way or something. And
you have to like slide into it.
There's nothing in the game that tells you how you get through it. You just got to kind of try it and see what fucking works.
That's what I did. I honestly thought like it would be like way harder than it was. I thought it was going to be like something like crazy, but it was actually pretty easy. Like you just kind of walk around a little bit.
It kind of puts you right in the right spot most of the time. And then once you get through that and you take, what is that? You take something back to the guy from there. I
don't remember what it was that you take back to him at all, but I do know.
Oh,
yeah.
You get the Candle of Darkness from him. Yeah, that's who you get the Candle of Darkness from. You get the Candle of Darkness from him, and then you take that to the cave to that person, and then they basically tell you you're gonna be the fucking what is it called? The Red Blaze. Yeah, you take it there, and those like people that look like they're wearing robes, they basically tell you you're the Red Blaze, and then they're like, you can't leave now.
Oh, yeah.
You're like the strongest creature in our realm. We'll stop you, and then you beat them very easily and leave. And that's when when you leave there, that's when you get to the area where you got to choose between like 5 or 6 different little areas. They kind of all lead back to each other, except for the one that once you get through that one, then it takes you basically to the next fucking dungeon. And that's the dungeon where you fight, I believe, the guy who thinks he's Red Blaze.
Yeah.
And then you beat him and he's like, oh, you're really the guy. And he gives you like the fucking full on power.
Makes you strong.
Yeah. You can like take maximum hits. You got fucking full on infinite fucking flying. And once you get infinite flying and that high jump, it's like, oh man, I wish I could do a new game plus and play through with this shit.
Yeah.
Because that would be fun. And I couldn't even find a fucking cheat code after I beat this game to give me that.
Oh, really?
I'm sure there was one there, but for whatever reason, I didn't see one. Or yeah. Because I would like to do a fucking just a cheese playthrough of this game with like everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would actually be really like fun. It actually sounds really fun, like being all buffed out and you can like
just cruising through the fucking game and just demolishing all that fucking shit. Just flying over the whole level like I have a fucking P-wing or something from Mario.
you become the antagonist.
Right. So
Killing people left and right, not even worrying about it.
So that's the basic story and plot of the game. What do you think about the graphics of this game? Remember, this is an early Game Boy game.
Yeah, so being relatively not colored, it removes a level of detail that it can have, but it actually kind of works in its favor. I feel like if this game was super colored and stuff, it would kind of remove a bit of like what's appealing about the art style, you know?
Yeah, I like the fact that because it's not a Game Boy Color game, it's an original Game Boy game. But if you play this on a Game Boy Color, or a Super Game Boy emulator, where it has all the Super Game Boy colors, it actually colors it real nicely.
I guess so. But one of my like number one things with it was like I like the art style. Like I like how it looks not colored. Like it's just
it's very basic. The sprites are awesome. I feel like there's some other Game Boy games that use these same like overworld sprites, like the Final Fantasy
very
Legend
and like reusable.
The Final Fantasy Legend games have like zombie sprites that look very much like those. I always thought they were made by the same company. All those Capcom and Square back in the early 90s were definitely not the same company.
Might be buying from the same. They might be buying their assets. You never know.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't have asset packs back then. It was like you basically just made your own fucking pixel graphics per game. Although I could be wrong. There could be certain asset packs back in the day that they passed around from different companies.
I mean, that probably is true. Like it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that would make a bit of sense in a way.
Especially because like I feel like especially older games, it feels like so many sprites look so similar. Like there probably were. There probably were. They probably just generally altered them a bit.
I can see that, yeah. All right. So what about the sound? Do 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 do.
It's definitely a product of its time when it comes to game music.
That's the noise you hear through most of the game. Is do do do.
Like, it's not too annoying. I do like that. Like, it's not as annoying as you would assume it would be, but it's also not like crazy innovative or anything. Very much a product of its time. Just very like repetitive, but like a nice tune,
Yeah.
Like I could sit and listen to it for like, the entire time I'm playing the game, but like, it's not like insanely like innovative. So at that point, I'd rather just listen to my own music while I played.
Yeah, I listened to it for a little bit, and then I put a podcast on for the like hour and a half I played through. I was telling you about it, and then I was like, yeah, it's a quick game. I'm gonna one night I fired it up after my wife went to bed, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna see how far I can get real quick. I beat the whole fucking game in like an hour and a half, just off the top of my head, without even no strategy
guides. At the same time because we like both got on at the same time.
And I was like
I'm pretty sure you started playing like no longer than like 30 minutes after I did.
It was just a quick beat that game up real quick, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice little 2-hour digestion of great Game Boy gaming.
Nice 2 hours of my life where I got to play a Game Boy.
Yeah. Oh, and I played it on the emulator I used was a Super Game Boy emulator, so it was colored and it looked nice.
I used Gambit.
That's what I usually use for any of my Game Boy stuff. It's just I just felt like playing it on a Super Game Boy emulator, so I played it on. That's
the one you told me to use.
Yeah, because I wanted you to play something that's more accurate than the one I played was less. I don't know. I wouldn't say less accurate, but had less options, I guess. And I wanted you to experience it in like black and white glory, so you could really look at how it was back in the back in the day.
Back in the game.
Because I mean, I don't think I ever put this into a Super Game Boy in my life. I owned a Super Game Boy, but I don't think I ever played this on a Super Game Boy.
That's fair.
I think by the time I got a Super Game Boy, I had already like traded this game off to somebody for something else. Because that's what we did with Game Boy games. Sometimes with Nintendo games, and sometimes with Super Nintendo
That's what
games.
we did for the DS when I was younger.
Game Boy games went around.
People still had.
Because those are games that
DS games.
Yeah, because Game Boy, like the smaller, shorter games, you can shuffle them around a lot easier, and yeah.
I think I just realized that must have been what happened to my Pokemon Black and White game. I think I traded it off. That's so sad.
Damn.
I put so many hours into that, and I spent so much time looking for it. And now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably exactly what happened.
I know my first Pokemon game, Pokemon Blue, I lost the fucking game.
It's either I lost it or I traded it off, but I think I lost it. Like, I'm pretty sure, because I think I remember seeing it one time after I lost it and being like, wait, is that my game? And then I was like, no, it can't be. And then going back to the spot, like when I was looking for it, I was like, man, I should have just took it while I had the chance.
Right.
That was so sad.
So sad. I'd be sad to lose my Pokemon game too. I did, and I was.
Some things never change.
Just like war, some things never change.
Next game, Fallout 1.
Fallout 1 and 2. So should we talk a little bit? Let's talk a little bit about the weapons. So you start off with the fire, which is that little triangle, simple, and then you get the blockbuster. Now,
to be honest, I didn't know what it was until I looked up how do I get past these blocks, and it said the blockbuster, and I was like, oh.
No, one of the people in one of the towns, they tell you when you get it or something, or maybe with the guy that gives it to you tells you that it breaks blocks. But it was weird to me that it was always just boomerangs. Yeah,
and I think by the time I got to the point where I needed to use it to break blocks, I'd already forgotten about that entire interaction. I'm gonna be for real.
Makes sense.
Most of the interactions didn't stay in my mind for longer than a few minutes at most, if when I got done with them.
Yeah. So you got the boomerang blockbuster thing. Then you got the claw, which I don't know why they call it the claw.
Because it's not shaped like the claw.
It's not a claw. It's like tar that he spits out and that sticks to the like. It's like something that he spits out.
It like sticks to the like these spikes.
The spikes, and so he can grab them.
And then the next thing you get also sticks to the spikes.
Yeah, the dark fire or whatever.
Yeah. That one was my favorite.
Well,
probably because it was the strongest.
The strongest, and yeah. I like the blockbuster because you could shoot a few of them. You know how you can only have so many of your bullet sprites on screen at a time? I'm pretty sure the blockbuster was the one where you could have more at a time than any of the other ones.
I think so. I think it was like 3 at a time.
Yeah.
Which was nice. But I'm pretty sure also with the I forget the name, the last one you get was also like 3 at a time.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
This game is so short. There's like it's so hard to like talk about it and especially talk about it as a topic.
I don't know. So I think the game's fucking. I could talk about it. I'm just not sure what. Yeah, game is awesome though. I bet
I liked it. I'm glad I played.
I could sit down and play this game at any time and enjoy it. Couple hours, beat it. The monsters are fucking weird. Like you got the guys that look like little Ku Klux Klan members, but I'm assuming they're ghosts or fucking ghosts, or maybe those are the ghouls. But the ghouls, like if you look at the ghoul sprites in the overworld, they just literally look like zombies.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe you just said that though.
Those little ghost guys wearing hoods with cutout eyes. I know what you're
talking about. But...
I'm like, come on, guys. Like, there's an enemy in, maybe it's a Game Boy thing, because there's an enemy in Kid Dracula, which is a Game Boy game, and when the bosses looks like these little ghost things, but it's like larger.
It looks like the Cartman costume.
Yeah, it's like, this is Cartman's ghost costume. Why am I fighting this guy? Then you got those bulldog enemies that like throw their heads. Those guys are fucking assholes. Oh, I really fucking those guys are fucking yeah. Let's see what else you got. Those like plant snake things.
Yeah.
The ones that yeah, they're plants because
uh,
when you first encounter them, they come out of like actual plant things.
Yeah, and then after that, they just spawn flying for some reason.
Yeah,
It's
and then
like,
they're
what?
flying, and you got to shoot them, and their tail disappears. Or wait, maybe are those two different things I'm thinking of?
I think they're the same thing. They were the same thing in my mind, at least.
Or if
when
it's
I
the
was
same
playing through.
sprite, they just use it differently. Because the ones that come out of
be true.
the ones that come out of the plants, they just come like straight up and they shoot and then go down, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Fuck, I'm over here misremembering Gargoyle's quest.
Well, I mean, to be fair, played it back in like 34, you know, so.
And then you get shut up. And then you get those like hanging monsters that hang from ceilings and then they fly at you. But then also sometimes they're just like hanging in midair, like not holding anything.
And they
they're
don't
just
fly
like
at you
they're just like
and it's like, what?
Yeah, but like I got what they were going
And then there's
for.
like the thwomp dudes. There's like the dudes that remind me of the thwomps from Mario.
Oh, that they slam down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and they like they wait till you come by to do anything, and it's like, whoa. Okay, Shigeru Miyamoto.
I don't know. I really like the platforming because it's not normal platforming. It's like grabbing.
It's innovative. It's like innovative.
You don't see that a whole
like,
lot. You see it in some things, but that kind of platforming where it's more about grabbing onto things and jumping to the next thing you grab. They use that a lot in a game called Street Fighter 2010, I think, which is another
Street Fighter 2010.
You'll see when we get there. It's another game that a lot of people don't hold in high regard, but which is one of my very favorite games of all time.
It seems like we have a lot of those, you know.
I think I have bad taste
for me, which was like a really low rated game, and like that game is crazy good.
I think I have bad taste in NES games, or maybe I, as a kid, I thought abstract because a lot of my very favorite NES games, like
really bad,
like you go on to hear a lot of negative things from critics and shit, or and I'm like, but Werewolf the Last Warrior's fucking entire arm becomes a fucking blade. He's like, you ever remember watch Terminator 2? And you got the T-1000 and his whole arm becomes like a blade. That's what the werewolf does. And he climbs with
That's what the werewolf does.
Anyhow, Ghosts and Goblins. Or no, Gargoyle's Quest. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're wrong.
Gargoyle's Quest Gaiden Densetsu.
What?
Yep. Anyhow, so you got any more to say about this game?
Swiftly on.
You got any more to say about this game?
No, I can't say I do, sadly.
Anything negative, positive?
I liked it. Right. That's like, at the end of the day, this game can be summed up to a few words. I liked it.
Me too. And also play it. The sequel, Gargoyles.
Any game we play, you should play.
Surprisingly enough, the sequel to this game, Gargoyle's Quest 2 for the NES, I only played a very short amount as a kid. I rented it one weekend. I was at my Aunt Gail's house, and I wasn't even at my house, so I rented it for like a night. I only got to rent it for the one night, and so I played it for 5 or 6 hours, and it was basically this, but on a bigger scale. We're gonna have to come to that at some point. But then the second sequel, which is actually called Demon's Crest for the Super Nintendo, I played that and beat that as a youngster, and that game is fucking awesome as shit too. And we'll get to that. It's kind of different than this in that it's more of an action and platform, but that game's fun because you get like different demon, like you can turn into different kinds of demons, like a swimming demon, then there's like a super flying demon, and there's like an overworld map, and then there's like mode 7
your overworld maps.
Mode 7 travel, which is like an airship from Final Fantasy 6, so I loved that. But yeah, so this is a great game that spawned 2 great sequels. I would love to see maybe a fucking remake of this game at some point.
Let's do it right now.
I've never even seen like a fan
it.
remake, not even like a fan remake, like with HD graphics, like how they take, it'd be great. You know how they take the games now, decompile them, and then they make native PC ports, like the Zelda 2 PC port, which is fucking awesome, or the yeah, they could do that with this game. Would be fucking awesome. Widescreen support, HD graphics, maybe not even HD graphics, but like the same pixel graphics, but with a higher resolution that looked nice and crisp on my fucking monitors. That'd be great.
You just want to play old games on your new computer.
Yes. But I mean, I can do that with my emulators, but I also would like them to look better, or even just more higher resolution, crisper, which I do anyway with my emulators. So I guess I don't even know what I'm asking for anymore.
You just want it. You don't know what it is. You just know you need it.
Dragon's Quest 4. Or I mean, not Dragon's Gargoyle's Quest 4, like a whole brand new sequel where it takes all the mechanics from the first two games and just makes more. Yeah, that's what I want.
Just makes more.
Anyhow, okay, so let's throw a fucking number on this thing and call it a day. So
this is 8-bit. Is this 8-bit?
Yeah.
It was like 4-bit.
Nope. It's an 8-bit. Calm down. So we got this 8-bit game. What would you give Gargoyle's Quest for the Game Boy out of 8?
I'm gonna have to give Gargoyle's Quest out of 8 7, solid 7. I want to say 8, but I have to go 7. Just too short.
Yep, I will give it the same score, and for the same reason, simply because it is too short. Because this game, I would have loved for it to be longer.
I hate to say too short because I always complain when our games are too long, but like this game has so much going for it. And then you're done after 2 hours. Yeah,
just like more levels would have been great. Just more like instead of having, just 6 main levels, maybe throw in like 1 mini level in between each one,
Throw
like
in procedural generation,
Yeah, on a Game Boy. Let's just throw in some fucking procedurally generated levels. But I mean, just, kind of like Mario Brothers 3 without the levels, how you have the small castle and then the big castle. Just that. Yeah. That's all I really would love more, would make this just great. Just throw in 1 mini.
That bring it to a solid level. 8.
Yeah, that would bring me a nice round 8. If just 1 mini level before each end level. I mean, there are some mini levels like the bridge, like the few bridges are levels, but I don't really count those because most of those are just get across this fucking bridge.
And they're kind of tedious and annoying, but not like too bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the one is just like be able to fly this long, and the other one is like be able to fly and hold this long, and then yeah. So yeah, I give it a nice 7. Yeah. So let's talk about next episode.
Let's.
So I gave it a lot of thought and decided on a game. I've been thinking about that game for about a week. And then heard a podcast earlier today and completely changed my mind.
Oh, okay. So what was the game you were thinking before you changed your mind? Let's really build it up.
Fuck, I don't even remember because then I decided on this game. The game I was going to pick was going to be Final Fantasy Legend for the Game Boy.
Check this out.
Which is a Game Boy
Final
game.
Fantasies.
Well, because I want to take you on a journey with me through the games I played, kind of in a good order of how I played them.
I guess so.
I kind of went out of pocket a little bit with the zombies versus neighbors or zombies ate my neighbors and Echo.
Well, I chose Echo though, so that's also
that's different. But as far as me, I kind of want to go not in chronological order because I would never fucking be able to remember which games I played in what order, but sort of the games I think of as my first games,
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy Legend was the first Final Fantasy game that I ever owned. It was the first Final Fantasy game I put real serious time into because I owned it. Wasn't the first Final Fantasy game I beat, sadly. But anyhow, that was the game I was gonna pick. It might not be the episode after next. I might change my mind before that. But so the game I am gonna pick for our next episode is a super classic game.
Mario.
No. And this is the very first this will be the very first game I think I ever beat that I remember.
Yoshi's Cookie.
Sure. So the game is Wizards and Warriors.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mentioned this game already during the. You said that at some point.
Yeah, it is one of the first games because I remember it's the first game I beat, put a lot of strategy into, actually got good. This is a game that actually took some skill to play and beat a little bit, not a whole lot. But it's the first game where I actually practice and learn to get good, to fight bosses and take as little damage as possible, to collect things. You know, this was a game that built a lot of those gaming skills I have. So that's what we're going to play next episode.
All right.
So now it's time for all your Teenage Prodigy plugs. Give me your plugs. What you got going on coming up?
All right. So as always, go ahead, check out Teenage Prodigy. That's where all my music is. Look up Teenage Prodigy versus Nardwar. You'll find an interview I did about the character specifically.
On Facebook?
Huh?
Are these all available on Facebook?
They're all available on YouTube.
Oh.
Teenage Prodigy. I don't know if I have a Teenage Prodigy Facebook page. I might have, but if I did, I abandoned it.
I was just joking. So what, your Teenage Prodigy on Spotify, Teenage Prodigy on YouTube?
Yep. And if you don't want to listen to my music, but you still want to see more of me, Sako Gaming on YouTube, Instagram. No, not on Twitter, YouTube, and on Twitch, it's Sako Gaming Bozo because I can't use Sako Gaming anymore. Which we already talked about, so don't ask me about it again. And then, as always, look out for more information about the movie, because that's a big that's a big project that I'm working on. So, yeah.
All right, and as always, I say I will one day start my OG gaming podcast, and will one day. Other than that, you can catch us on all your podcast aggregators. You can see us on Spotify, Podbean. I believe we're on Amazon Music. What's the other one? I always forget. We're on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Catch us on Twitter at RetroQuest64, YouTube at RetroQuest Podcast. You can catch me, the Joystick Cowboy, on Twitch eventually. Joystick Cowboy on YouTube eventually, with Let's Plays and shit that I'm planning on getting with all my new webcam shit and capture card shit. And gonna be doing that shit.
Keyword planning.
So look forward to an announcement in the future.
Yes, but anyhow, announcement about an announcement.
But anyhow, RetroQuest Podcast on YouTube, RetroQuest64 on Twitter, and RetroQuest on everything else. There's a link tree in the description if you want to see all of the links to all these things that we are badly saying. And So I am D, the Joystick Cowboy, and my co-host, the Teenage Prodigy, saying, see you later.
Aldia Verci.
Yeah, that thing too.
It's Italian.
It's Italian. He says Italian. Who the fuck says Italian? Italian.
Okay, you know what? Fine. Adios. Does that work?
All right. So bye. Bye, guys.